Hey everybody, welcome back to Galactic Wisdom. It's good to be back with you all. Thank you for tuning in and watching. The title of today's show is We Are One, or maybe not. In the description for today's show, I asked the following questions. What exactly does it mean when people say that we are one? Is it true? And why does it matter or not? So what does it mean when we say we are one? Well, one is a number, one is mathematics. Are we one person? No, we're not one person. I am one, you are one, and therefore we are two. Mathematically speaking, to say that we are one doesn't make any sense. So what is it that people are talking about when we say we are one? Well, some people say that we are one consciousness. A lot of people say that we are one consciousness. There's just one consciousness in the universe. That's become a very popular thing to say. And it's very interesting how people will just pick up on any belief in a sort of a copy and paste kind of way, like not enough people are saying it, so I'm going to copy it across and I'm going to paste it into my mind. It doesn't make any sense at all, but it sounds good, so lots of people are saying it, so I'm going to say it too, and then I'm going to say it to other people, and then it spreads. That's how beliefs spread. Is it true to say that we are one consciousness? Well, what is consciousness? Consciousness is being conscious of something. Consciousness is being aware of anything at all. If you're aware of anything at all, then you're conscious. You could be conscious of your own existence, your own consciousness, your environment. But if you're conscious of anything at all, then you're conscious. Are you conscious of what I have over that way? If I look over that way, are you conscious of what I'm seeing? If I look that way, are you conscious of what I'm seeing? Are you conscious of my plans for later this evening? Are you conscious of what I had for lunch or for breakfast? Because if you're not, then you don't have the same consciousness as me. We're not conscious of the same thing. I'm not conscious of everybody that's watching this show. I can see a number of people, up on my screen that shows how many people are watching right now, but I'm not conscious of who you are or what you're thinking or what you're thinking about what I'm thinking. I'm not conscious of your gender, your country, where you're watching from. We are not one consciousness. If we were one consciousness, we would be conscious of the same things, all of the same things, but we're not. So to say that we are one consciousness is incorrect. And it's just one of those bizarre things in our lives that people just latch onto things which just a few intellectual thought processes can tell you are wrong. So are we one consciousness? Clearly we're not. So why do people say that? Well, it's a belief, and beliefs are things that we can accept as being true with no proof, with no thought. A belief is defined as, and people who have watched this show in the past will know that I say this quite a lot, but there's a big difference between a belief and knowledge. A belief is something that you can have if you accept something as being true without proof. In fact, a belief requires an absence of proof, because a belief requires you to have this leap of faith, this absence of full knowledge. That's why it's called a belief and not knowledge. So beliefs require you not to know if the thing is actually true. Beliefs require an absence of proof. That's different to knowledge. Knowledge is something that you accept as being true because you've proved it. 2 + 2 = 4. And it is just bizarre to me that beliefs are so well respected on this planet, that beliefs are pushed upon people. It is a wonderful thing to believe in something, to have faith in something. No, it's not. Because when you believe in things, when you have faith in things, you're probably wrong. It's not just opening yourself up to making mistakes. It is an intellectual mistake. We can all see that. It is an intellectual mistake, if you think about it, to accept anything as being true without proof. And yet that's what humanity is. And of course, there's lots of reasons why people believe. Beliefs can help people get through hard times, because you can believe that things are better than they actually are. If you can believe that a big problem that's happening to you or to the world is not actually a problem. Beliefs allow you to build up a perception of reality that is better than what it actually is, or is closer to what you want it to be than it actually is. Beliefs are a psychological sort of stabilizer, but it's not an intellectual thing. It's a mistake. It's an intellectual error. And if you just think about this, how so many people believe so many different opposing things all around the planet, for example, the nature of God, whether God exists and what the nature of God is, if God exists, their beliefs are not compatible. Some of them are, but most of them are not. And that tells us, well, they can't all be true. So most people's beliefs mathematically have to be incorrect. If we were to ever find out the truth about these things, most of the beliefs would have to be incorrect, because most beliefs are incompatible. So people believe anything, including the idea that we are one consciousness. It does, to some degree, sound good and harmonious to think of us all as being one in some way. The idea of being unified is appealing. It's appealing to me to be unified with people. It's appealing somewhat to be the same as others, because then if you're the same as somebody else, you kind of understand each other. You can sit down and you can have a conversation without lots of conflict. Being unified with people allows us to be peaceful with each other more easily. It allows us to be in harmony with each other. It allows us to be happy or have positive emotions, to even be fulfilled. If you can ever find a friend other people who see eye to eye with you on all of your beliefs, it's hard to find deep friendships. It's hard to find deep relationships of any kind if you're not seeing eye to eye with each other, if you're not unified. So it is appealing, the idea of being unified, unity as in one. But that doesn't mean that it's true. And the idea of believing that we are all one does have a darker side. Excuse me, drinking some water. If we believe that we are all one, It's kind of like believing that, it's downplaying our differences. It's kind of a rejection of our differences. It's a rejection of diversity. If you view others as being like you, well, actually, you're wrong, because there is a huge amount of diversity on this planet, and it kind of means we're trying not to understand. It's like we're trying not to understand others. It's like trying to step back and say, well, I know who I am and I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm just going to pretend that other people are like me too and don't have those differences. It's not an embracing of diversity. So that I find to be a little bit dark, because we are all different. And if instead of trying to pretend like we don't have differences, we actually try and understand each other a little bit, we actually have conversations with each other and try and understand the opposite gender or the people in that country, rather than either vilifying them or just saying, no, they're the same as us, they're the same as us. And if somebody's doing something wrong, they know they're doing something wrong because they're just like me, they're just choosing to do something wrong. Well, no, different people have different ideas of right and wrong. And that can be challenging to a person, because if there are differences out there, it can make us look at ourselves and say, well, are my differences okay? And that can be a challenge to people. It's interesting whenever I've taken friends back from the US to England, most people that will travel around to different countries, they're open to differences, to diversity. And that's a very positive thing. I think people who travel a lot and like experiencing new cultures and learning about them, that's a very positive thing. That's not a rejection of diversity. That's an embracing of diversity. And that's a wonderful thing. But I have known people come to England and look at everything from the perspective of, well, that's different and that's not as good. That's different from the US. That's not as good. That's different. That's not as good. And people, some people have that attitude that they're right about everything, and that if anything's different, then there's something wrong with it. So trying to force this oneness upon us all is an easy way to cause conflict, to reject reality. It's like we're not trying to understand others, and we're not trying to understand other people. We're not trying to understand other animals, other species. That's called speciesism. A lot of people who believe that, well, we're all just one, they don't understand other people's actions. When people act in different ways from them, it's to them, it's an anomaly, where in fact, no, there's a wide variety of different actions that people feel are justified. And again, maybe if we could all understand that, we could look at ourselves a little bit and think, well, are my actions right? If we go to another country, just one example that popped into my head, and we look at the healthcare system in another country, then we can see how it works in another country. In England, when I lived in England, even if you're visiting England, if you have an injury, if you have an illness, you can go and get seen for free. Healthcare is something that's given to people because it's considered to be right to look after everybody. And in this country, there are some people who will like that idea because they're open to other ideas, but there are some people who are a little bit more insular who just don't get it. And it's a big shame. So understanding that we're not all the same allows us to look at the things in other countries, in other people, and then judge oneself according to that. And that's what happened to me when I came to the US. I started to see, oh, there's different ways of doing things. And some of them are better and some of them are worse. Some of them I prefer, some of them I don't like very much. But being able to travel and take in the diversity really helps anybody, I think, to really look at oneself and try and become a better person. History is full of people who have tried to change others to be like them. So if we're thinking about, if we have the attitude, we're all one, everybody's like me, then when we see other people who are not like us, who don't have the same beliefs, the same ways, the same opinions, then often we as in human beings, we try to change the opinions, change the behavior of other people to make them like us. It's not comfortable for a lot of people to be around people who are different. I have this platform where I speak to people and people hear my opinions, but it's not an imposition. I'm not forcing anything upon anybody. People can choose to listen to me or choose to not listen to me. But what I find is that when I give my opinion, sometimes quite often, people will email me or send me messages telling me, well, this is your opinion about this subject. This is my opinion. Now, when you're emailing a person in a targeted way, that's an imposition. When you message somebody with a link to say, Rupert, this is something I think you should watch, that's sort of a bit of an imposition, pushing on somebody. And that's what people do. And when people have spread around the world in our colonial histories, and they've gone to another country where people in the other country didn't believe the same thing as them, then the aggressor, the invader, the conqueror, they have invariably tried to push their beliefs, their ways upon others. And complete cultures have been all but wiped out because of that sort of action. And it's all down to this discomfort that people have with the idea that there are differences. So, if I'll jump ahead a little bit, my message today is diversity is good. Trying different foods in other countries is good. Going and sitting down with somebody who is different from you and having a conversation with them is good. And it's okay that we're not the same. Sitting outside in nature with the animals that are out there who are different from us and behave differently and think differently and have different instincts and ways of living, that's good. I live in a house on a mountainside. I moved in a couple of years ago. When I got here, I was so happy that I was living around all this wonderful nature. There's elks that wander by. There are deer. There are bobcats and mountain lions and bears. I haven't seen the mountain lions or bears yet. There are reptiles, snakes and lizards, and a plethora of different types of birds and squirrels and gophers. And I love it. But it is a little bit of a challenge at times when the animals around me are different from me and they want to do things differently from me. I have a squirrel that is trying to eat my home. The wooden walls of my home. A squirrel likes to come up and prop itself up on the wall of my home and eat the wood. So, it's challenging. I have gophers and ground squirrels that burrow underneath my steps outside and on my driveway, and it's not living in harmony with me unless I'm okay with that. Now, when I came to this home 2 years ago, the people who were here before, they left in the basement lots of stuff, and some of the stuff that they left in the basement was mouse traps and rat traps and poison and larger trap devices to capture things like squirrels and gophers. They clearly did not live in harmony with nature. All around the edges of my home are spikes so that the birds can't get in and nest underneath the gutters. They did not live in harmony with nature. I choose to live in harmony with nature. And the way I do that is not by imposing my will upon them, by forcing them, you've got to be here, you've got to be there. I choose to enjoy their presence and let them burrow underneath my steps. I choose not to let them eat my home, but I'm not killing them. I'm not being aggressive. I'm just putting like nasty smells and things on the sides of my homes so that they're not eating my home anymore. But there is great wisdom. There's galactic wisdom in finding ways to live in harmony with others and embracing their diversity. And now when I go outside, the squirrels are coming closer to me. When I reach out spiritually to the elk in the distance, they walk over to me. They say hello. There is great harmony, there is great value and satisfaction in living in harmony with others. So is it right for us all to try to force people to have one belief system? No. The pursuit of oneness can be extremely destructive. But is it ever good to unify over anything? It's interesting, often you'll hear politicians talking about bringing people together. Is that a good idea? What do they really mean when they say that they're going to try and bring people together? Well, for some people, it means being fair, being as fair as possible. And being fair means majority vote. It means democracy. Democracy is fair. And I'm not sure it's really bringing people together, but it is unifying over the idea of being fair, the idea of a democracy. And that is a very sensible and fair idea to live in a democracy. When we see around the world, in the present and in the past, dictatorships, that is not unity. That is not we're all one. That is one person. One person is important. Or one person, one group of people, and everybody else really doesn't matter so much. That's about as far away from unifying as you can get. But politicians do talk about bringing people together. How do you bring people together? Over what should we unite? Well, as I said, democracy is a good thing to unite over if what you want is fairness. Okay. Some people try to unify by forcing others to do what they want, imposing will upon people, dictating things. That's not wise. That's achieving unity by force is not what is comfortable for everybody. It's not for the good of everybody. It's just for the good of the people who are doing the forcing. So if you ever are trying to force people to change, to listen to you, it's going too far. It's not a wise thing to do. That's an imposition, whether it is a politician forcing a nation, or whether you're in a relationship with somebody and you're trying to force your opinion on your partner or your friend or your family member. There's never wisdom in that. In relationships, I personally only ever have one rule. And the one rule is we should never force each other to do anything. We should never put each other under pressure to do anything. That's the only way you're going to find harmony in a relationship. But that is a hard thing, because what happens if you find yourself in a relationship with somebody where there is an incompatibility? Then the only way to make yourself compatible, to make both of you compatible, is to force change upon somebody. But that's not, forcing compatibility is not real compatibility. So that's why it's so hard to get into any kind of long-lasting relationship with anybody in today's world, because a lot of people they get into relationships and then they find the incompatibilities and they try and force changes upon people. The only way to be in a relationship with somebody who's different is to accept your differences. And if you can't accept the differences, go and find somebody who's compatible with you. Imposition is a bad thing. So what is it that is wise to unify over? Well, this is subjective, because morality is subjective. But in my opinion, in my subjective opinion, the wisest and most moral thing to unify over is peace, being in peace with the people around you, putting peace above everything else. So all of the other considerations in your life come secondary to peace. Putting politics lower down than peace, putting religion lower down than peace, putting any belief system lower down on the scale of importance to peace. Put peace above everything. And being one with people may not be peaceful. If you're forcing you to be one with somebody else, that can often does lead to a lack of peace, to conflict, to hostility. So I recommend putting peace above everything else. And sometimes that means being peaceful and separated from others. There are people in the world whom we don't agree with. And there's two ways to deal with that. We can, well, there's probably more than two ways of dealing with it. But what I notice is that a lot of people will get into conflict with others. They will close that gap between people, whether it's a geographic gap, over the internet, whether, we're naturally separated in our lives, but social media can bring us together, and people come together in order to combat each other and try and change our differences in non-peaceful ways, with conflict. Wouldn't it be easier just to separate out, to be in peace with each other and to not have that conflict, and just be okay with us being different, to be okay with us having different beliefs? There's wisdom behind that. But that's hard. That's hard for people who want to unify. It's hard for people who live in a United States of America, because that united, how are we united exactly? And is that unification good? Because we have different people in different parts of the country in the US who are not unified in peace. And there is a possibility of separating and therefore acquiring peace. The US is kind of split down the middle in lots of respects. And there are some areas which are very clearly supporting one political set of ideologies and philosophies, and in another region, another set of philosophies and ideologies. And at the moment, they're in the same country. They're in one country. They're forced to be one with each other when they're really not. And the way that they're dealing with that is not just being okay with being different. They're in conflict with each other. Can you imagine, and it's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think, but can you imagine if the US were to split into two separate countries? And what would that mean? That would mean that you could have two separate governments. You could have all the people in the blue states governed in a blue way by blue government. You could have all the red people in red states with a red government being governed by red politicians. And that would bring a greater level of peace. Maybe there's wisdom to that. The larger that a country or a union gets, and the more diversity you get. Diversity is good if you can celebrate it, and if it's not in direct conflict policy-wise. But when there is clearly a very different way of living and philosophies of living, and a government is trying to govern everybody, it becomes harder and harder and harder with all that diversity of opinion and belief and ways. Is it not wiser to be able to separate out a little bit and have different governments governing over a less diversity of opinion? That's a hard sell, but it is it could be the most peaceful solution to the problem that the US is facing right now. Why is that a hard sell? Well, who's going to give up being in a larger country? People are going to want others to change to their way, like conquer and have what they have and have their resources and be part of a bigger, more powerful land. Even if there's conflict, that's what people are preferring. But maybe there's wisdom to considering splitting. Consider Brexit. A lot of people just don't get why Brexit happened. And it was because of the reasons I just described. When the European Union of many different countries, many different countries, were being governed in many respects by one European governing body, where this one European governing body was telling multiple countries throughout Europe that this is what you have to do, that this is what you have to do, whether you like it or not. Whole countries were finding that they were having to conform to European laws that they as a country were not feeling a resonance with, not feeling aligned with. That split of Great Britain from the rest of Europe wasn't a failure of peace. It was a success of peace. It enabled Great Britain to regain a government of many of over many aspects of the lives of people in Great Britain in a way that was consistent with the people of Great Britain. It wasn't a failure. It was a success of peace, putting peace first. But it requires the wisdom. It required the wisdom to separate in a peaceful way and understand that separation sometimes, and acknowledge just being okay with the country next to us having differences without being at war, It was a success of putting peace before anything else. We've got non-human communities around us. And do we think that human beings are wise enough to understand them? Not as a species, no. I have formed peaceful friendships with non-human entities. I have friends who are Arcturian. I know them by name: Sashki, Rimetoid, Helmiad, Goblins, Mantis beings, Antians, Ebons. We've got... I could talk for a minute naming the different species whom I have formed peaceful, harmonious relationships with. And I'm able to do that because I am going to them with a truly non-discriminatory objective, and that is to be peaceful with them, to learn about them so that I can be friends with them, to live in harmony with them. That's what they're doing outside of our planet. They have multi-species alien communities that are living in harmony with each other, all getting along with each other, all having got to the level of psychological and emotional and spiritual development where they can do that without battling with each other. Humans are not there yet. If humanity were to enter into their civilizations, we would bring with us all of our worst characteristics, and we would be trying to be one with them by forcing them to be one with us, to be the same as us. We would go in there with judgments, without understanding, with beliefs, and we would force our beliefs upon them, no matter how irrational they are. So there is great wisdom in unifying over peace, but not trying to force anything upon anybody, not trying to impose anything upon anybody. When we say that we're all one, some people will tell me, if I ask, well, what do you mean by that? People will say, well, we all came from the same place. We all are going to the same place. So I ask them, well, what do you mean by that? It's like, and then they say, then they bring in beliefs into it. Well, we were created by the same consciousness. Some people will say it's source. Some people will say it's God. And we're all going to the same place afterwards. Like we're all going to join the big consciousness of one and God and heaven and whatever. Different people have different beliefs, but those are beliefs. Again, we don't need to. I'm not going to force anybody to do anything, but we have the opportunity with our level of intelligence. We have a level of intelligence in our biological makeup that is above the other species on this planet. The other primates, the other mammals, we have an intellectual capacity that's greater than theirs. And we can, with this greater intellectual capacity, understand that unifying over peace is what is really important. We can understand that beliefs are invalid and that it's time to move beyond beliefs to knowledge. We're just at the edge of that. We have just enough intelligence that some of us can get that. We have just enough intelligence that we can create terrible technologies with huge amounts of devastating power, but we're not quite enough. We don't quite have enough intelligence enough to take a look back and see that, well, beliefs are nonsense. Accepting things as being true without proof is nonsense. We can know what we know, and if we don't know something, we know that we don't know it, and we try and find out what the truth is. And if we can't find out what the truth is, we still don't know it. That's the transition that we need to make. If people are referring, when we say we are one, to the idea that we're all made out of atoms, we're all made out of atoms, we're all made out of the same stuff, we're all made out of energy. Sure. Well, that's true. And after we die, yeah, our bodies decompose and we go back into the soil and we become atoms and energy again. And there's sort of this recycling going on. And so I suppose we're one in that, yeah, we're made of matter. Yeah, we're made of energy. But so what? So what? Some people will say, well, that means we should all get along with each other. Well, I think we should all get along with each other because doing so is wise. It has nothing to do with what we're made out of. Maybe one day we'll meet beings from an alternate universe that they're not made out of atoms and they're not made out of matter. Does that mean we shouldn't get along with them? So, there is wisdom in unifying over peace, and there's wisdom in building communities that can unify. As our spiritual capabilities grow, we can connect with each other spiritually more. In my meditations that I run, we do that. Our spirits connect with each other and we start to become collectives. We start to become collections of beings that are thinking more like a single being. We are still a collective. It's still a collection of different beings, but we can blend ourselves together and cooperate and be unified with each other in collective purposes in order to act like we are a single consciousness. A collective consciousness is one collective consciousness. It's still a collection. And we can spiritually become, our next evolutionary step spiritually is to become a collective where we can feel each other's emotions, where we can think or perceive each other's thoughts, where we can detect a lack of well-being. We can detect instantaneously, spiritually, when somebody needs help, and we go and help them, and we adjust in a way that is really strongly connected. But that's not a single consciousness. That's a harmonious collective, and there are collectives of beings all around the universe, because humanity isn't the ultimate level of stage of, we haven't reached the ultimate stage of evolution, of progression, of advancement. There are beings all around the universe that are collectives. We can actually connect with them. When we astrally project around the universe, we can pull ourselves to and find collectives. And it's interesting because not a lot of people, when they're faced with other species, not a lot of people are really thinking of collectivism, whether or not this is a single being or single beings, or whether they're connecting with a collective. But collectives are very common. It's a higher level of development that we have yet to achieve, but many beings around the universe have. And wow, it's quite an experience connecting with a collective, because you're really connecting with something that's bigger than you, a vast spiritual field of combined harmonious consciousnesses. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm sure that there are many different physical houses of collectives, of collective consciousnesses around the universe. And there's great diversity of these collectives. But ones that we have connected with, typically we see them as looking like a large nebula in space. A large, colorful cloud that has sufficient structure within the artificial cloud to house a collective consciousness. It's a wonderful thing. And they're all good because they've advanced sufficiently that they can spread out into the universe and not get into conflict with others. So yeah, that's where we're going. The very ultimate stage of development would be if every conscious being in the entire universe was part of a collective, and we all cared equally about each other, and we all acted not for our own self-interest, but for the good of the whole collective super consciousness throughout the universe. That would be wonderful, but that would still be a collective. So are we one? No, we're not in any significant way that matters. What should our goals be? In my subjective opinion, a good goal would be to try and unify in peace with as many people as possible. And if that means stepping away from them or blocking them from your social media, then do that. That is my little bit of galactic wisdom for today. Now, I am building a community. I'm building what I describe as a coalition of light. It's an interspecies community of human beings and animals and advanced non-human entities who are able to live peacefully with each other. And among our group, we do have different beliefs. I don't have any beliefs. I choose to have only knowledge. I choose to know what I know and know what I don't know. But we are diverse in every way. In every way that you can think of diversity, we are diverse and we celebrate that. And we're okay with different beliefs as long as we can put peace above everything else. That's what we do. So, if you're welcome to join my diverse group of peaceful, collectivistic beings of light, if you like. We do meet on a regular basis with humans and non-humans. And it's really exciting to connect every week, 2 or 3 times a week during meditations with different entities who are out there, who know us, who are supporting us, who will come to us. We've got human spirits within our coalition of light. It's a wonderful place to be, and you're invited to be there with us if you like. Let's see. Now, I do have in less than 2 weeks now, I've got a tour coming up. This tour I am calling the UFO Contact Tour of 2025. And I'm going to be traveling around 16 different states. I am going to be traveling all around the lower portion, the lower half of the US, hosting 24 events at least. And these are going to be events where you can come out and meet a wonderful group of people. And we go out into a beautiful place in nature usually, and we meditate. We astrally project around under the ground into mountains to try to connect with different beings. And we do connect with different beings, and we invite them to come to us. We invite their craft to appear to us in the sky, and very often they do. We see all manner of craft, high altitude zigzagging lights. We see much closer luminous orbs, which sometimes are their spirits, the spirits of these beings. Sometimes they are luminous, transdimensional, ultra-dimensional vessels. And we invite them to come out of their vehicles, to step out of their vehicles and to walk towards us. And we usually feel their presence around us. And anybody that's psychic will be seeing them walking towards us. I know I have a lot of medium friends, energy healers, that sort of thing. And when they come to my events, they're astonished to see beings hovering above me, beings approaching them. There will be all manner of different species of alien beings who walk up to us and offer friendship to us. Well, we've offered friendship to them. They accept the friendship and they come around us. We have children of their species coming to us and giving us hugs. We physically sometimes have seen them in the distance. We don't often see them physically right up close. That's too dangerous for them because human beings are unpredictable and not to be trusted. But they do show great unity with us. They become one with us in our vision of peace, interspecies, universal peace. So it's also wonderful to connect with people because there's all different people from different places, different genders, different ethnic backgrounds, different political views, religious views. We're all coming together in a peaceful way. And they're wonderful experiences. So if we look at where I'm going to be going, well, in 2 weeks from now, I will have hosted my first contact event in Santa Monica and be on my way to an event in Barstow. Then I'll be going to Las Vegas. That's going to be a weekend camping trip. We're going into the Nevada desert to camp in the location where tall white beings reside, whom we know. We're going to Monument, Colorado, on the eastern edge of the mountains there. It's a beautiful place. Shawnee, Kansas, Berryville, Arkansas, Memphis, Tennessee. We're going up to the Mississippi River there. We're going all around the U.S., Mississippi, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina. We're going to the Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, Roswell, New Mexico, Marfa, Texas, where there's the Marfa Lights. We're going to try and have a conversation with them. Phoenix, Arizona, where the Phoenix Lights were, Sedona, and back to Nevada before finishing off our tour. I very much hope that some of you will be able to join us there. I wish you all peace, love, and well-being, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye for now.